What's up guys, I'm Lizzie. I had somebody suggest recently that I should film a video on how to fall off properly. And after thinking about it for a while, I realized I really hate falling off. And I don't do it that often. But I do think that I fall off a lot less than the average equestrian. And maybe it's because I hate it so much. So instead of trying to make a video on how to fall off properly, I decided to make a video on how not to fall off at all. But I also try to go over how to fall off more safely and land with the least likeliness of injury. And I thought breaking it up into 5 different steps might make it easier to understand and digest. We've also gotten loads amount of rain in the last couple of days, so everything is sopping wet, so no riding for me for a while because dangerous. That's why my horse is fat. Thanks. So, number 1 on 5 tips on how not to fall off. I think this one is one of the most important ones, and that is mindset. If you think about falling off, you probably will. Because your eyes, your body will follow where you're thinking. If you're thinking about the ground, you're gonna be looking at the ground and your body's gonna follow. It's just the same reason that when you're riding, you're always supposed to have eyes up. Just like my ice skating teacher used to tell me, eyes up. If you look at the ice, that's where you're gonna end up. A better place to focus and a better place to look is your horse's ears and their neck. If you're holding onto your horse's neck, you're gonna have a much less likely chance of falling off. And if you do, it'll be a much softer landing. So it's the same principle that if you're approaching a jump and you're thinking about stopping in front of the jump, most likely a horse will probably stop at the jump. So it's always mind over matter. And if you really don't want to fall off, you cannot think about falling off. You have to think about staying on. So don't think about how much you don't want to fall off. You want to think about how much you really want to stay on. So obviously, do not jump ship and abort mission as soon as you feel unstable and try to leap off, because a lot of times that's going to make for a much messier fall. Because if you try to stick with your horse, chances are you'll be able to get them to slow down or stop even, and then your fall will be much softer. So don't panic, don't jump ship, don't think about falling off. If you really want to stay on your horse, think about staying on your horse. I know obviously it's easier said than done, it takes a lot of mind control, but it's good to practice your mind control. Number 1 leads us straight into number 2, which is trying to stay on as hard as possible will most likely make your fall softer, if not prevent it completely. Let me explain. If you're gonna fall off, you wanna hit the ground with your feet, your legs, or your bum. You really don't wanna fall off on the upper part of your body, anywhere. So if you're really trying to stay on, you'll be grabbing on the horse's mane and their neck, so that'll keep your upper body above the rest of your body. So if you do fall off, it's most likely your feet, your legs, your butt or whatever will hit the ground, and you'll be able to lower yourself slower onto the ground by keeping a grasp on the horse's neck or their mane or whatever. Now, I don't recommend hanging all of your weight on the horse's mane, but in sketchy situations, it's better to hang onto the neck and the mane than it is the reins. It's really hard to remember, but it's a really bad habit to fall off while holding the reins because 1, they can get wrapped around your hand, which can be very painful, bad, broken things happen, whatever. You can get dragged, and it can be very painful on the horse's mouth, the horse's face, so not a good scenario in any of those cases. Obviously, if you're in a situation where you can't let your horse get away from you, if you're in a big open pasture or whatever, and you know your horse is gonna run if you let go, obviously you're gonna need to hold on to the reins. But if you're in a situation where you can let your horse go, try to always avoid holding onto the reins when you fall. Obviously, it's tough, especially when things are moving fast. Sometimes things happen so suddenly you don't even have time to blink. But if you're starting to feel uncomfortable, unstable on your horse, grab the mane. Obviously, you're gonna still be holding onto the reins, but if you can remember to let go of the reins or to just drop the reins as soon as you hit the ground so you're not dragging them with you. Number 3, learn the counter movements of your horse's sudden spooks and reactions. Now, obviously, this is another one that's gonna take a lot of muscle memory and practice, but it's something that can be learned, and this is another reason why I always advocate for riding bareback occasionally, because it's going to help strengthen your seat, it's going to help you predict your horse's movements, and you gain the muscle memory to sudden movements and the counter movements to those kind of movements. So let's go over some of them. And obviously, in sudden situations, it's hard to practice these things. It happens, we fall off, whatever, but it's still good to try to practice them, try to keep them in mind, and maybe it'll help you and keep you from falling off sometimes. So say you're just sitting here, you have your reins collected, you're chill, and suddenly your horse just leaps to the left. Your counter movement would be to clamp your left leg and turn that right rein in, because your horse is moving this way, so by turning them this way, you're counteracting their spook movement, jump, whatever. And also by pressing your leg here, and pulling the rein here, you're keeping yourself balanced by pulling yourself this way and also turning the horse this way to keep the horse under you. If you're holding onto the mane, even better, you have a much higher chance of not falling off if you're holding onto the mane, like I said earlier. So if you're like this, your horse suddenly spooks, you grab the mane, squeeze your leg, turn that head in, and that's going to usually prevent you from falling off. And if you do fall off, it'll be an easy slip off because you'll have your horse's head turned to you, so they can't be bolting away, so you won't be flopping off their butt. You'll just slip off the side, and if you're holding on to their mane, you'll usually land on your legs, hopefully your feet. And obviously there are other movements that the horses make that are hard to sit that usually launch us off. But if we have muscle memory and we have the thought about staying on, we're going to usually clamp our legs and grab the mane, and that usually keeps you from falling off. Something that's really hard to sit is when the horse is running and they immediately like stop or spook and bounce, and it like launches you off the saddle. So it's really hard once you come off the saddle to get your seat back, but always relying on the mane and the neck usually keeps you on. Getting your horse under control instead of evacuating is going to be much more helpful. I've gone over this before in another video where I talk about 5 different ways to stop your horse from bolting. But if you're not panicking, you're not worried about falling off, if you try to get your horse under control, it's going to at least make them go slower or circle around, and so falling off won't be nearly as brutal. Number 4, how to fall off with the least likeliness of injury. Now, obviously I've already touched on this a little bit through the other categories, but basically the least painful way to fall off is by either landing on your feet, your legs, or your butt, your hip, or whatever. Obviously it can still hurt if it's a hard impact, hard ground, whatever. And obviously tucking and rolling, which you don't always have a lot of time to do if you're falling off a horse, depending on how you're falling. But the way to keep your upper body from hitting the ground last is basically just by hanging on for dear life. And if you're gonna fall off by hanging on the horse's neck, you're usually going to flip over on your back and land on your feet. You're gonna keep your head, your back, your neck safe. Now, as somebody who lives in the north, I do a lot of skating, and this might surprise you, but skating and horse riding are actually pretty similar. I've been skating since I was pretty much 6 years old. So recreational skating, figure skating, hockey skating, I've done it all. I've gotten lessons. And one of the things that I've learned from skating that has really helped me, I feel like, in horse riding is how to fall, because falling on ice really hurts. And there's definitely similarities on falling on ice and falling off a horse, and how to make it softer. And hitting your head on the ice really sucks. And obviously figure skaters don't wear helmets. So you have to learn how to keep your head up when you fall so you don't crack your head open. And you can do it. You can fall without dropping your head back. You can learn those muscles to keep your head above the ice. It's just something you really have to focus on when you're falling backwards. So let's quickly recap. If you're gonna fall off, you have no other option. Try as hard as you can to make your bottom half of your body land before the upper half. The upper half of your body is a lot more fragile than the lower half. If you can land on your feet, great. If you can land on your legs, it's still good. It might hurt a little bit more. If you land on your hip, you'll probably get a bruise. It'll probably be fine. If you land on your butt, you might hurt your tailbone, but you'll usually be okay. But if you land on the upper part of your body, your back, your neck, your head, your shoulders, you're way more likely to injure something and cause long-term damage on those parts of your bodies than the lower parts of your bodies. So if you can keep the upper part of your body up, then do that. And for our final number 5, what not to do. So we're going to expand on the things that may hurt you when you fall, may cause you to fall, and yeah. A lot of people, when they're trying to avoid falling off, they're trying to use the reins as balance. And these obviously have no support behind them, and you'd have to be pulling really hard to get support from the horse. So instead of relying on the reins, just freaking grab the mane. People are really insecure for some reason about grabbing on the mane, but if you don't want to fall off, if you don't want to get hurt, you're going to do everything in your power not to fall off, which means grabbing on the mane. This right here is a great invention. And if you're holding on to part of the horse, your upper body will stay above your lower body, just like we were talking about. So let's recap what not to do. We're not going to envision ourselves hitting the ground, falling off. We're not going to evacuate ourselves. We're not going to let ourselves fall head first. And we're not going to hang off our horse's face if we do fall off. Also, I want to note, if you are falling off and you're in the process of hitting the ground, be super aware of where the horse's back legs are. Because a lot of times when the horse is in a panic, fight or flight mode, you falling off and landing near their legs is going to be startling to them, and they're already in a very reactive state. So if you are falling off near their back legs, you're either holding onto the horse's reins and you can pull them towards you, so you're pulling their head towards you, which is going to cause their butt to move away from you, or you let go of the reins completely and you keep your head down until the horse is passed, because if they kick out and hit you in the face or the head, that could be really bad. Also, if you are holding onto the reins, trying to get their head around, but they're still running straight, aboard ship, let go of the horse's reins, because if you start getting dragged behind them, they will kick at you, most likely. Obviously, depending on the horse. But it's never safe to have your head that close to a horse's legs when they are in reactive mode. So try to keep yourself safe. Again, I feel stupid for saying this, obviously, because obviously nobody wants to land on their neck or their head, but you really want to avoid landing on your neck, your head, your back, your shoulders, your chest. All of those areas are a lot more fragile and likely to cause long-term damage than your legs, your feet. So if you can, do everything in your power to hold on to your horse until your lower half is below you, then you can let go. And obviously when you're hitting the ground, you're gonna probably get a whiplash or something, but try to keep your head up and don't let it smack the ground. Even if it feels like you can drop it down lightly, just don't let it touch the ground, because a lot of times it'll whip back harder than you're expecting. So mind the head. Obviously, wearing a helmet is a smart thing to do. I like to wear one when I'm doing higher risk things like jumps, but if you feel unconfident in your seat or on your horse, a helmet is always going to be a smart idea. But it's not going to save your neck, so learning how to fall properly is important. Anyways, I think that's it for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big like and subscribe. You can go follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I post new videos every single Sunday. So I'll see you guys next week Sunday. Bye. Okay, there you go.